All right. Well, Larius, good morning, and thanks for being on Kathmandu podcast.
Good morning, and thank you for the invitation. I'm
All
very
right.
happy to be here with you.
Okay. First of all, can you tell us what's the proper pronunciation of your first name?
The proper one is Laris.
Larius. Okay. I'm gonna try that, but I'm not gonna try it because j'appelle un peu français, as I told you, but I don't speak like that. That good or that crazy French, right? Or that's awesome French. So Larius, again, thanks for your time and. You started playing soccer or football. First of all, what is it? Soccer or football?
No, it's football. It's football, but I feel like I've been here for so long that I start to pick up like the American brain, and I start to call it soccer.
So you kind of have to go back and forth between whether it's football or soccer. And you see here in this room, you're originally from France, right?
Originally from Congo.
From Congo,
but born in France.
Born in France, and I'm from Nepal. So here we're in this safe space where we can say football.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Okay, so you played professional football for how many years?
19 years.
19 years.
Yeah.
And you started, obviously, you grew. Can you give us a little insight into your childhood, how you got into football?
Whoa.
Or soccer?
For me, yeah, football. We're going to call it football.
All right, let's do that.
Let's do that. So, I started playing as far as I can remember since I was able to walk. Like my first memories were with a ball in my hands or my feet. My father was a huge football fan, and more specifically a PSG fan. Love the PSG from back in Congo. I like that you're representing the jersey. I had one. I tried to put it on this morning, and I realized that I have to go back to the gym. My dad, huge PSG fan, and being the first child born, because I have bigger half brothers and sisters. Being the first child born in France. He felt like, okay, this might be it, because he always had dreams to become a professional football player. But reality of life back in Congo, where that he had to drop out this dream to go and support the family and start working and all that, so that he could contribute to help everybody to be able to eat the right way. And so being the first child born in France, he saw this as a chance, because it's a way more organized country and everything around football. He saw that as a chance to become professional. So I started to play like that at home with my dad, playing in the living room. He was my first coach. He was my first coach, watching games with him, a lot of games, telling me stories about all the stars and the greatest players of the history of the game. That was back in the late 80s, early 90s. And as far as I can remember, this is how it started. I remember breaking glasses, breaking windows, but he wasn't mad about it. He wasn't mad. He was like, okay, like it has to happen. If you want to master this thing, it has to happen. And then, after that, obviously going outside and playing outside with my friends. So this is pretty much how it started.
Okay, and I'm sure as you were growing up, there were a lot of different positions that you would play, like as a child, as a kid. But at what age? Because I think you played center back, right? Was that your primary position that you played?
No, absolutely not. Yeah. I started as a number 10.
Okay.
So I was a number 10. Pretty good number 10, because I was able to play for a team at the age of 5, when supposedly that you couldn't play for a team before 6 years old, and I was 5, and I was already playing with them, and I was still like one of the best. I remember being like this skinny, like very skinny player, very crafty and technical, because for me, it was all about technique. It was all about making people, dribbling. I would never pass the ball. I would always be dribbling. That was crazy, right? And then, so I started at this position, and then I met a coach when I was 8 years old, I think, or 9. He was like, this is not going to be your position. Your position is going to be center back. You're going to see, you might not understand it right now, but I see you as a central defender. And it started slowly to make me go back a position. So from 10 to 8 to 6, 6 to 5, and yeah, this is how it started for me.
Okay. At what time or when do you think you started realizing that, okay, you are going to make it to the top level? Like, was there any realization that came inwards, that told you, Laris, that, hey, man, you can make it to the top? What was that moment? Can you remember that moment, or like, can you?
I remember like yesterday. So it started, in France, it's very, I don't know how it is right now. I'm pretty sure that it's still very organized, but at the time when I was there, it was very organized. We had a lot of contests, and I was making all these contests. It was like about juggling the ball. They would use a stopwatch to take our time, how long we had to dribble the ball in between the cones and finish to the finish line, or juggling the ball from the midline to the box and then shooting the ball, like a lot of things like that. And every time they would take our time and like rank us. And I was able to go and reach the national final. And when I reached that national final, I was the only player who was coming from an amateur team. So I remember receiving the gathering informations. So it was like where it's going to happen. Clairefontaine, which is, Clairefontaine is the pinnacle thing in France, because this is where the French national teams reunite before and gather before all their games. And this is also where all the youth teams of French national teams are gathering as well. And I was the only player like being from an amateur club. And when I saw that list, it was all players from, professional teams. And I remember receiving the list and I was like shaking. I was like, Dad, I'm the only one who doesn't play for PSG or Monaco or Lens, or it's going to be tough. My dad told me like reassurance right away. He was like, you're going to be fine. You've been working like the right way for so long. This is going to be your time to show everybody that you deserve better than just being in an amateur club. So I reached that final. I was over there. I did great. Unfortunately, I picked up an injury. But after that, so when we started in our city, it was only contests and all that. But when I got to Clairefontaine, it was games, like obviously some trainings as well, but games. We were basically being, they were looking at us and looking at the way we were playing, almost like trials. And I went back home, being the only one coming from an amateur club.
And what age were you?
I was at that time, I was 13.
13, okay.
I went back home, 14, and I went back home and I received the phone calls from every academy in France. So that was the difference maker. And we decided to go to PSG because first I was a PSG fan. Second, it was not far away from home. And third, I would be just happy to be over there. And this is when I realized that. So going to the academy at 14 is when I was like, okay, it went from a dream to a goal, an obsession.
Okay. And your roots are originally from Democratic Republic of Congo, right?
Yeah.
And you played for the national team. You had 9 starts,
yes,
if I'm not mistaken. World Cup qualifying, 2 starts in Africa Cup of Nations. So difference-wise, as far as like say when you played for for PSG at the club level, compared that to the national, was there any stark difference? Because obviously with the national team, you would not probably mingle as much because you're sort of playing like in gaps. PSG, you'd be playing regularly, right? You know the teams. So international games, was it a little different to kind of commingle with your other players from the
it was way different. It was way different because now you don't only represent your club, but you represent the whole country. Congo, so back in the 70s, used to be a big African country, the first country to participate in the World Cup, or African country to participate in the World Cup, for example. Won 2 consecutive African Cup of Nations back in the 70s, and then it went like backwards because also of the authorities and the political reasons, and now slowly getting back into it. But like when I joined the national team, it was just started. They were just starting to getting back into serious things, calling the best players that were available and all that. And the difference was definitely that going over there, it was a lot more pressure, way more pressure, because, for example, to give you just an insight about it, every time you go play for an African team, the pressure is unreal because fans are just waiting to see how you're going to perform. They see you every weekend playing in Europe, but when you go back in Africa, it's a different story. It's way more difficult. And if you play a bad game like that, for example, or make a huge mistake that's going to cost a goal and eventually disqualify your team from a World Cup or an African Cup of Nations, people are ready to just go to your house and parents' house, because I wasn't living in there, but parents' families, and burn it down because of your performance on the weekend. Like, your whole family is at stake. Like,
yeah, that's
you
tough,
can.
yeah.
It's tough. It's a lot of pressure. And I remember having a conversation with my dad, who didn't want me to go there at first. He was like, "It's too much pressure. You won't be able to sustain that." And I was like, "No, I want to do it." And yeah, so that this is the major thing. Our stadium was a 75,000 seat. But when you play, it's easily 90,000 people on the roof. People, like, at some point there's no more security. People are just forcing and getting into the stadium, and it's heavy.
Yeah. So I know you. I want to go back just a little bit. Your childhood. I know your dad played an influential role in getting you to be where you are today, right? So obviously he was your childhood hero, one of the childhood heroes, I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
Was there any particular player that you really liked watching on TV, or you just wanted to emulate that? Hey, you know what? That's my player. I want to be that. Was there any certain players?
Ronaldo. R9.
All right.
Ronaldo, and to me, and
Yeah.
I know everything is generational, right? If you ask people,
That's our generation, yeah.
Yeah, Ronaldo, and you ask my dad, he will tell you Pele or Maradona. These were his players, right? But my player used to be Ronaldo. R9 is the player that really gave me so much, passion for the game because of what he was able to do on the football field.
There is no one that comes, at least of what I've seen, no one comes as close to R9, Ronaldo. Right?
I feel the same way.
Right.
The strength, the speed, the technical abilities. He was just, amazing. And when you think that later in his career, he was like way overweight, but still able to do what he was doing, that's just incredible. And after all the injuries too, it's just...
Yeah. It's just one of the best to have played the game. Now, I do want to come back. See, whatever the Sunday leagues that I used to play, right? I was a big fan. I would try to play the center back, but as you can tell, with my height and my jumping style, I probably wouldn't be able to make it to the professional level at all. But so center back, the defender, right? So in your eyes, in your lifetime, who have you seen is probably the best defender that has played, or probably the best defender to have played the game ever?
So, when it comes to, you're asking me my favorite player ever, there's no conversation, no discussion. It's going to be R9, and everybody else comes and falls after him. When it comes to center back now, it's tougher. It's tougher. As I told you, I started playing as a number 10, and I used to, love watching attacking players way more. Obviously, when I started to play at this defender position, I had to look at the center backs, and it's tough because I feel like there are so many good players in the history. How can I not mention a player like Beckenbauer? I feel like Beckenbauer might be the best ever. But, in today's day and age, we look a lot at the stats, right? And And the more goals you score, the better chances you have to you can have to win a Ballon d'Or, for example. So when you talk about that, how can you not mention a guy like Coman? The German center back, usually, and when German, no, Netherlands, sorry,
Dutch, yeah,
Dutch. How can you forget him? It's not possible. Now, Baresi, big AC Milan, Italy, amazing player.
Maldini probably.
Maldini. If you ask me, like my personal choice would be probably Maldini.
Okay.
Maldini.
As a Chelsea fan, I'm biased, Larius. I was hoping you were going to say John Terry.
No, I cannot. Put, I have, with all due respect, right? It's also because I feel like really it's generational, and I've been watching John Terry, but like the players who gave me love for the game, as I told you, when I started to play as a center back, I had to go and watch some center backs, and I started watching these guys: Maldini, Coman, Beckenbauer. I'm pretty sure I'm going to drop a name. Probably never heard of it.
There's like so many good ones.
Pazzarelli, the Argentinian, the amazing player as well. Bobby Moore. If I don't mention his name, English people are going to be mad at me. Another amazing player. By the way, Pelé, big Pelé, said only 2 defenders actually were very difficult for him to play against. The first one was obviously Beckenbauer. That's what he said. But Beckenbauer was a more complete defender. He would be very comfortable with the ball, very elegant as a sweeper role. But he said, like, on the pure man-to-man defensive abilities, he said more. So,
okay. No,
but if you ask me, I'd say Maldini.
Maldini, yeah, I think in our generation, the football that we watch, I think Maldini was probably the best to play the game. I'm a biased Chelsea fan, that's why I was saying John Terry, and one of the things that, at least like just analyzing John Terry, a lot of people don't know about this. I'm pretty sure you know about this, Larry. John Terry was very good with both his feet, right? Like he was super accurate. Like you wouldn't let like all those crossfeed balls with his left foot. And that's where, but again, I'm a biased Chelsea fan. I'm going to sing praises of him all day. That's what's going to happen. All right, let's come back to today. Who is the best center back in the world right now? Or give me a couple.
This is another one. You have to mention Van Dijk.
Van Dijk, yeah.
Obviously, you have to mention him because I feel like he's got everything when he wants to play. Because sometimes it feels like he doesn't, or it's too easy for him, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like Van Dijk is up there. I like Konate as well. I like what's his name? There's one guy I think that is really overlooked, and I really like his style of play because he's brave with and without the ball. It's Upamecano. I might be biased because he's a French defender, but the way he plays with the ball, he's risk taker. He's not. I love that. He's really brave when he's playing, and I really enjoy watching him play. Yeah, I'd say Van Dijk. Probably.
And see, this is where Pep Guardiola he has come in and completely transformed not only like the way how you move forward. Now, I think the standard for the center backs when you were playing, maybe it has changed a little bit, maybe the perspective, because now as a center back, now not only you got to be strong and you got to be able to win balls and score headers and all that stuff, but you got to be able to play from the back.
Yeah.
Right? Like you almost have to. So in your perspective, like how has that changed the game? Like, now you have defenders that you're just going up and down, obviously, but typically, I guess like previous standards was, okay, the back four or back five, whatever you had, you were supposed to maintain a line. Maybe when you play the wing backs, you go up and the back three kind of stay there. But now everything's dynamic, right?
Yeah.
So how has that changed? How do you see that?
No, I feel like it's a good point because when I started playing, so that was as a pro in 05, but as a young player, watching the other players playing, there wasn't that many defenders who were able to play and manipulate the ball. As I said, Beckenbauer was standing out because of his abilities. It looked like he was the only one who was being able to do that. Coman was another one too. But the way the game has evolved is way more dynamic, as you said. And even on top of being able to play from the back, now central defenders have to be fast, because you want to maintain these high lines and all that. And this is another tool that modern central defenders must have, which wasn't the case back then. So these are the two things that have evolved since I started playing. It's definitely the ball playing on the ball abilities, and also the speed of play, and the fact that they have to be able to run as fast as strikers sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, just one thing just crossed my mind right now as you were talking. There's a big player, defender that both you and I we spaced out on mentioning for like 2 seconds. Chelsea, PSG, Thiago Silva.
Thiago Silva.
Thank you, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, so that was in 2010s, right? Because this is when he was at his peak.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people saying that Ramos is the best, like the last best central defender we've had. But I feel like Thiago Silva, in my opinion, I think that Thiago Silva was better.
See, I think Thiago Silva, with him, you have, you said his peaks were like the 2009-10s. I think he had a peak for like 13 years, man. I mean, that's what I feel, because he was at the top of the game, right? And when he came to Chelsea, Chelsea won that Champions League in 2021 with a squad which was decent. It wasn't, it wasn't like, if you look at the front, it wasn't really like that crazy, like amazing forwards. We didn't have that. Right, what we had was like a very good back four, and you have N'Golo Kante that sat in front of
make things easier for everyone.
Yeah, he covers like everyone, right? So I think Thiago Silva was first of all, again, thank you to PSG for letting me go and letting him come to, and also Thomas
Tuchel. That's hurtful.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that one, but honestly, I feel like Thiago Silva could do everything Sergio Ramos was able to do without the temper. Without the
red cards.
Without the red cards. And but also, like, if there's one thing I would give to Ramos over Thiago Silva, is just how brave he was. Like, that was amazing. I feel like Thiago Silva is a real Sergio Ramos, is a real leader.
Yeah.
Thiago is more, reserved and all that, probably.
Yeah.
Still very respected.
Yeah.
But like Ramos, and because he's just like very energetic and all that,
right,
that helps. And he scored amazing goals. So I think that this is also a difference maker, and this is why I say that in today's day and age, we look a lot at the stats, and we cannot overlook that. For example, for me, the best memory I have from one of his goals is the one he scored against Atletico Madrid.
That was the last kick. The final.
Yeah, right. And who other than him?
He's a fighter. You have to give it to him.
Yeah, you have to give it to him. And when you see that he started as a right back in Real Madrid, and being roasted by Ronaldinho every Clasico, right? To come back, but I knew that his real position, even when he was playing right back, his real position was a center back. Right. He's just an amazing player too.
Yeah, Thiago Silva. I keep on going back to him, because with him, I think the most amazing thing about him was how he was able to read the game, right? Not necessarily he was at 36, 37, 38 at that age, even still. Yeah. He was just the way how obviously he read the game, and he controlled like the back line, and that's what currently I think Chelsea is missing. So
but yeah, even talking about that, when I think about Thiago Silva, I remember when Kylian Mbappe started to blow out and everybody was seeing him. He was still in Monaco. I think that was the season before he joined PSG. So it was Thiago Silva being in his, mid, maybe late 30s, receiving Kylian Mbappe playing against him. And, Wouldn't Thiago Silva is not as fast as Mbappe, and nobody is, right?
Nobody is, yeah.
And the way he took Kylian and put him in his pocket was just, you have to be very smart to be able to do that on such a great and fast player.
Yeah. So I know you have gone from France, and you were at loan in England for like a little bit, right?
In England, yeah.
In England, and then you played for Nice, and you were in Turkey, and then you ended up at Portland. So going across all of these countries, and obviously Turkey is that's another league in itself. Like that's someday I'd like to go to Turkey and watch a game out there.
You love it.
So can you take us like the contrasting styles of these countries, and in your experience, how is Turkey different from, let's say, playing in France and playing in the US?
I'd say that to talk about the league itself, France is a very, very organized and tactical league. And on top of that, you have to add the physical aspect. It's a lot of very athletic players in France, and no wonder why they played 1, 2, 3 years, and then they go to England and Spain and all that. Turkey is a very different league, because I feel like, first of all, there's also a lot of pressure, a lot of passion from the fan, and you can feel it when you're playing games. It's no joke. It's really no joke. And I feel like because of that, the intensity is very, very high. When you play against Turkish players, a lot of, technical players that don't like to run that much, but it's very technical. And then when it comes to the US, I've been lucky to play for, the Timbers, because I feel like this is the best fan base that there is in the MLS landscape. Although now it's kind of fading out a little bit because of all the things that happened in the behind the scenes. But from 2017, I'd say, to 2021, which was for me playing that MLS Cup final, the pinnacle of the atmosphere, the environment was just something out of this world. Amazing moment I cannot explain it if you are not in the stadium. Very small stadium, but still packed.
One of the things I read about the Timber Stadium is that the fans the fans are so close to the field, right? Like they see it like very, very closely. And I know there was couple times that Timbers went to the final, they just could not cross the line.
It happened, but that for example, that MLS Cup final 2021 was probably the biggest disappointment, because you're playing at home, you have such a crazy and amazing fan base, and you losing the way we did was tough. But like the difference between MLS Super League and Ligue 1, which is the French league, is that in MLS, for example, it's way more athletic than any of the other leagues that I play, even way more than France.
Really?
Okay. Yeah. Because
why is that?
I think it's cultural. There are a lot of American players, and they come from the US, and in the US they put a lot of emphasis on the athletic abilities. I remember going to preseason and having to run, and I was just exhausted, and I looked around, all these American kids going boom, boom, boom. I was like, how are you able to do that? It's just a different energy. But on top of that, because they put so much emphasis on the athletic aspect, it's way less technical. The technical abilities of the players is just less, because they spend so much. I see sometimes I go to the gym, and I see some kids who are like 10, 11, 12 years old. I'm like, what are you doing here? Why are you at the gym? Yeah. Oh, I play soccer. Yeah, but why are you not on the field? Because the time you're spending in the gym should be time that you're on the field, crafting and mastering the ball, because this is the most important. The physical, athletical aspect is going to come later. First, you have to be able to really be great on the ball, because football is a game that you play with the ball. You cannot approach him the same way you approach American football, for example. Yes, American football, you have to be strong and you have to go to the gym and lift and all that. But football is different. When you look at a player like Lamine Yamal, he's 17 years old. He looks like this. If you look at the way some Americans are approaching the game, he should not be able to play because he's too skinny. But he's today one of the best players already at 17 years old.
So that's actually one of my questions for you. Or what's going to be is the stark difference between what you see, and I think like you just touched on that point. So is it really like the technical aspect of players as they are growing up, right? Like they're younger, and you mentioned they're in the gym rather than going out and just brushing up on their techniques. So see, if you look at the record of the U.S. national team, generally they have produced good players, right? They've been consistent. Like if you look at the history, they've been consistent. They've gone to the quarterfinals. I think like in 2014 World Cup, they competed. Like they had a great game against Portugal. Like that 2-2 game was amazing. For some reason, shout out to Tim Howard and Bradford Friedel and all these goalkeepers that US produces. That needs to be studied. But Lars, what exactly is it that US is faltering right now as far as like the national team goes, right? Like why are they not able to sort of, because they have the players, it's not that they don't have the players, right? But what exactly is it?
Honestly, I see a couple things. The first thing I'd say is that the pay-to-play system is a killer, because it makes it a very exclusive environment where a lot of very talented players are being just left away. When you look at this,
can you explain the pay to play? Can you explain that part like a little bit more?
Pay to play is basically when families have to pay a couple thousands dollars every year to be able to send their kids and play the game. When you come in comparison, everywhere else is just a couple hundreds, so it's more accessible. And for example, for my own case, and I know it's the case of probably like 85% of the people. If that was the case in France when I was at the youth age, I would never be able to play at the highest level. On the other end, I've seen a lot of very talented players in France who still had their chance. The only reason why they didn't make it to the top level is because, they didn't have the right mindset. But that's another story, right? The pay-to-play system is a very exclusive system, which leave out a lot of talented players. And I feel like, you say that the US have produced a lot of, pretty good players. But I feel like in order to be able to reach that next level, you need more and better than just pretty good players. What you need is generational players. Or not even that, not generational. This is very, very, generational. When I talk about generational, I talk about the Messi, talk about the Cristiano Ronaldo, I talk about Mbappe or Lamine Yamal. And all of them have been able to shine and bring their teams to the national teams to the top level. What you need, not even like to not to mention generational players, you need world-class players. And when you talk about world-class players, who was the last world-class players in world-class player in the US? You can debate Captain America. I forgot his name. Pulisic.
Maybe
Dempsey. I don't think Pulisic is a world-class player. I don't think it is.
During the pandemic, he was world class for Chelsea. I can tell you that. But
yeah, for Chelsea, right? But like you can be world class player for a team, but you have to be world class for, I don't think he's a very good player. But to be a world class player is there's another stage to reach, and I don't think it is. And for the US, in order to become very dominant in the world football landscape, they need more of that. You look at Brazil, And now they are struggling a little bit because you can debate they are lacking a lot of world-class player. Neymar, definitely generational player. That's another. Rafinha, I don't think he's generational. Is he world-class? I think he's becoming world-class right now. Vinicius, I think he's world-class as well. So these type of players, and I'm talking about Rafinha, I'm talking about Vinicius, I'm talking about, Neymar, I'm talking about Mbappe or Lamine Yamal, I'm talking about Messi who the US has produced like that.
Yeah. And
that's the one thing missing, I think, for them to be able to be predominant. And it comes back to the roots, which is the pay to the system.
I read about this actually, so that's why I wanted to ask you on that. They said that if Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo were born in the US, they would be nowhere close to the national team because of that exact thing that you talked about, right? So that is something that US really needs to think about, because we can't really complain that, hey, the team's not doing that well, but because there's these grassroots levels, we're not really scouting, or we're not able to bring all the talents that we really should be, right?
Yeah, or they would be only if their parents had enough money to send them playing for clubs, and even tough, that, right? which is tough, and I think that's something that has to change if they really want to help the national team produce better, or the country produce better players.
Yeah, I want to touch back on the point where obviously losing the finals for the MLS Cup was probably one of your, in some sense, lowest lows, maybe, right? But it could be also like so can you give us, what was your highest high as a professional football player, and what was your lowest low?
My highest high, I feel like it was when I signed my professional contract. That was definitely the highest high, because I thought about all the...
This is for when you were with PSG.
When I was with PSG. So I finally understood that all the work I've been putting in for so long, because I told you I started at 5. At first, it was a dream, just really a dream to become a professional, and thinking about Ronaldo, thinking about Van Basten, Cruyff, all these players that my dad was telling me about. I was like, one day I can become like them. So when I started to play at 5, and to sign my professional contract at 17, that was 12 years. A 12 years work. Now we tend to be impatient about the outcome. We want the outcome to come back here, but like it's a whole process. My dad put a lot of effort into it, and he really helped me to get to sign this professional contract. It was a 12 years process. So I feel like this is one of the highest high. But like as a player itself, I'd say when honestly this it's a tough one. When I went to play with Congo, that was one of the highest high. Hearing the national anthem in this full stadium, that was definitely something a feeling that I've rarely felt on the football field. Unfortunately, I've never won big or major trophies, so that would be probably my highest highs. But like the experience itself was just amazing. I won the French league. The French Cup, with PSG. That was one of the highest high, but it wasn't the same feeling for me as playing, for example, for Congo.
And, yeah. Obviously, playing for Congo, that we talked about this a little bit earlier. It does come with a lot of pressure, but because now not only you're involved, but your family's involved, and you kind of give us that story. It's very, very I've seen this happen in a lot of parts of the world. So handling pressure. Let's say you're going about playing this game, and then if the nerves is getting to you, like how were you able to cope with those nerves? Like would you keep on like talking to yourself that, Laris, you got this, or what was like your mantra, if you want to call it that?
It's my faith. I've always relied on God on everything. Obviously, at some point of my life, wasn't that deep into it. But the older I got, the more connected I was, and I understood one thing. It is that everything we're feeling right now is just a feeling. You have to be able to get out of your bubble, right? You're in your bubble. Whatever happens to you, pressure you're dealing with, I don't know, anything, you're in your own bubble, and you have to be able to get out of this bubble and look at it from an outsider, so that you can actually have a better or a wider view or vision of what's going on, so that you have better chances to actually address the situation the right way. So this is what I used to do, and I know that we have to be challenged. No matter what, you have to be challenged. Like every human being in this world is going to be challenged, and I understood that pretty early, so that when anything happens, so pressure on the field or very bad performance or anything like that, for me the most important was always, okay, you have to react, and how you're going to react. This is the most important, because no matter what, as I said, you are going to be challenged, and some low moments are going to happen. But the most important is how you react to that.
Okay. And generally, Laris, the older you get, you realize that you will have to go through tough times, right? Like that's only a given. And I'm sure, like I watched one of your interviews where you sort of talked about, there were like some low times for you, right? And that's part of life, unfortunately. So what suggestions would you give to people that are struggling and that are out there?
Honestly, as I said, it's that you have to understand that it's a given. It's a given, and it's going to happen. So no matter what, what you're going through, you have to understand that this is a given. You're not the first person it's going to happen to, and you're not the last one either. Whatever you rely on, you believe in God or you don't believe in God or whatever, you have to find something that you can actually hang on to in order to make this moment the easiest possible way for you. For myself, it was always relying on God. For example, my last lowest moment was my last game with the Timbers. I played only 45 minutes. I've been subbed out at halftime after a mistake, and we conceded a goal. And at that moment, I was like, you know what, this is not going to work anymore. And I knew it was. It was about to happen. It was coming. Just wish that you can, extend it a little bit and enjoy it a little bit more. But the problem is that I wasn't enjoying it anymore, and I accepted that. I actually had conversations before it happened with the general manager and all that, and I told them that I just don't want to be a part of the team anymore. But because the passion was not there anymore, I was not enjoying it the same way. So that was a very low moment for me. But as I said, the most important is that I've always been able to rely on my family, on my faith in God, and now that it's done, I'm happy.
Okay, good. Okay. You played professional football for 19 years. 19 years?
Yeah.
19 years. Okay. See, when we are watching football on TV, or a lot of people like me, we like to scream at players. And why didn't you shoot? Why did you pass the ball? And we'll kind of move around the couch, maybe get on that extra chips, if you will. But sometimes I have this epiphany where I realize that this player's not on purpose, shooting it outside, right? Or on purpose doing that. Sometimes I do have realizations. So it takes a lot to be fit. First of all, to play for 19 years, right? We've had some players who are very promising and their careers are marred by injuries, and they really made it out to the top level, right? So fitness does play its part. And first of all, I want to congratulate you for for being able to play 19 years because it's a tough sport. People don't
Thank
realize
you.
that. So what was your regimen as far as going about the fitness, right? Like what was your routine? Was there anything that you did that kind of helped you in this maintaining fitness for
I
the
think,
professional game?
I think there's a couple things. The first one is that I honestly believe that I have good genes thanks to my parents. To be able to play for so long is not easy, as you said, as you mentioned. But I feel like it also comes with a lot of luck. I've never had big injuries, for example. Never had an ACL or Achilles or broken or something like that. So this is really helpful. Secondly, I've never cheated the game. I've never, called in sick or did anything like that. When we were running and doing all these running sessions, I was always making sure, even if I was last, to make sure that I passed the line instead of cutting short. All these things, and I feel like this is really helpful because at the end of the day, you are going to be rewarded when you put in the work, and you obviously. Since I know that I have good genes, thank God. I was not big on the way I was eating. I was actually not eating properly. I was eating pretty poorly up to a certain point, but I never got like overweight. I never suffered from that, and that's not something I would recommend, obviously, to anybody. But I feel like the simple fact that to take your sleep seriously, to eat properly, and to not cheat the game are going to make you last for a very, very long time. I mean, we have a prime example with Cristiano Ronaldo. He's showing everybody what's supposed to be done in order to like prolong this career.
And I was going to ask you one thing. Well, maybe we'll come to it later. But Ronaldo, that example, I mean, he just defies. He just makes us feel that he's what, like 40 now?
40.
He's 40. And he just makes us like, see, I feel young because I tell people, hey, Ronaldo's still playing, right? So I'm not old.
Yeah.
But then you realize he's 40 and I'm 38. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of sacrifices, Lars, you have to make, when you're a professional. Like you're on the road. But to make it to top level, obviously it's just one of the most difficult things because the odds of getting to that, right?
Yeah.
You're coming from like the suburbs of Paris, and there's a lot of, it's a huge city first of all. So competition and just to get to that level, you have, first of all, you have to make a lot of sacrifices. So what are your personal sacrifices that you think that you made on your journey?
To focus on it like very early. I was focused. I was in my tunnel vision, and this actually helped me to stay out of trouble because I grew up with some of my best friends who decided to take the other route, and didn't turn out like well for them, even though they were very talented. I have some friends who are, they decided to make all these micmacs and sending those things, and it didn't, as I say, turn the right way. But like for me, the sacrifices started very early, not only during the career, but as soon as I was 10 years old. I remember my dad used to wake me up. So I would go to the PSG Academy, for example. No, not the PSG Academy, but the soccer school, the football school I was going to. So training on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And at the time, that was huge. Nowadays, teams are training almost every day. But back then, to be able to train 3 times a day, that was a big deal. So Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, game on Saturday. And my dad used to wake me up on Sunday morning. Sunday morning, he used to wake me up at like 8:30. He would come into my room, open the blinds, and he says, "You're still asleep? You want to become professional? I want you to become professional. You have to do better than that. Get up and go out with your ball." He would take me out. He would not come with me. He would send me just by myself. And I have to find my way like at 9:30 a.m. on a Sunday morning and just playing by myself. These were some of the sacrifices I had to do from the youngest. I'm not saying that it's a great thing, because at some point I feel like, I would have been, I was not able to enjoy as much my childhood, but at the same time, this is what made me do the thing I loved the most for so long, right? I remember I had to go and pick up my cousin sometimes because we are the same age. He also signed professional, by the way. He played for the French New 2021 as well,
Okay.
and he played in French league for like 10 years, something like that. So and we were living close by, like 2 minutes away. And sometimes I would go and pick him up, and my aunt was like, "He's not coming because he's asleep." I was like, "Wake him up." I tried to wake him up, but he doesn't want to go out. So it was only me, myself, and I. So coming back to my neighborhood, like by 11:30, 12, I would see my friends in the window on the windows, or some of them outside, like making fun of me. Telling me, "Oh, he thinks he's going to become professional and all that. Look at him. He wakes up so early on the Sunday morning. What is he doing?" But in the end, it worked out.
Yeah.
These are like tough sacrifices, but you're going to be rewarded no matter what.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't me becoming professional. So something would have come out of this that I would still be able to enjoy.
Yeah, the parallels of people, the successful people, is you don't see the effort behind the scenes.
no.
Absolutely, you don't see
No,
that.
you don't see. You don't
Yeah.
only see, like, when the cameras are on.
Correct.
But when you go back home, and it's another thing.
Absolutely. I want to come back to my earlier point about, just someone who's not a professional, someone who's a professional screamer when your team doesn't score. Compare that to a professional, footballer that you've been for almost 20 years. What's one thing that you think, fans or aspiring athletes would understand that, what would be that thing that you think that general public doesn't really understand that well about professional athletes?
I think they don't really understand what it takes to make it. That's the biggest difference, because when you understand what it takes to make it, you have like more compassion, and more understanding of the whole landscape. For example, when I watch PSG play, I don't watch PSG play the same way I watch any other team playing. When I was PSG, it's like there's an emotional, like a big and huge emotional connection. So sometimes I also find myself being like, "What is he doing?" Right? But that's the emotion. And then, but quickly after, I understand that, it happens because of this and that. And also, when you understand, you actually watch the game from a different angle. That's one way to watch the game from a fan perspective, and it's another way to watch the game from a professional perspective. And when I watch games, usually I watch games from professional perspective. So I always put myself in the skin of, okay, I'm a center back, right? Okay, he's center back. What is he doing? He receives the ball. Okay, well, where is he? Where is his next pass? So even before he receives the ball, I'm checking what are the available options. Same thing for the midfielders. So you start to kind of anticipate the game, and based on that, you kind of see what the player is doing, and then this is how you realize, okay, this guy is great, because he's able to see on the field with only his two eyes what you can see with a very peripheral vision and all the cameras and the replays and all that. So he's able to do that on the field while you're doing it like on your couch and your chips and the replays and all that. So this is where you understand that this is what makes the difference between a fan watching the game,
yeah,
and like kind of a professional watching the game as well.
Yeah. So one thing from our generation to like this present generation, one thing has changed a little bit technology wise, Larry. So you have the VARs now, right? The video assistant referees. Are you all for it? Are you not for it? You're smiling. Your take on it?
I am. I'm all for it, but I don't understand the people who are making decisions still, because I feel like this is supposed to help everybody to avoid any type of mistakes or to minimize it to the maximum, right? But still, sometimes I don't understand the decisions because the VAR is there, and there are, for example, like handballs. I still like right now. I don't know what's a handball and what's not. It's gonna be yes to the appreciation of the referee, right? But playing the game, you know that certain positions are natural, and if the ball comes and hits your hand, you're still in a natural position. You're not supposed to defend with your back in your hands. You have to find a certain balance.
Right.
So sometimes you're right in front of of an attacking player. He's crossing the ball. He hits your hand. PK.
Yeah.
I don't understand sometimes the decision. So I'm all for the VAR, but I feel like the people who are like behind their computers calling out, okay, this play you have to watch it, have to be people who really understand the game.
And I think when you slow down these replays to like the frame that we see it at, it looks pretty bad, but sometimes it's not as bad, right? So I think there are some areas of the game that could be improved. One thing that I personally don't understand is Lars, I follow a lot of cricket and I follow the NFL. So all these sports use technology, and I see parallels between them. One of the things that I don't really understand about, maybe someone could help me understand that. So the offsides, right? Sometimes, see, if it's a blatant offside, it's very easy, right? But now you have these camera angles and they're trying to draw lines, and sometimes it's like a millimeter off, right? Why don't you just stay on whatever decision has been given? So all these sports, what they do is, if it's inconclusive, they stay with whatever decision that was called in the field, which makes sense, right? But sometimes I feel like these, offside lines that they're drawing, like, I don't even know how they're drawing these lines, right? So the margin of error, I don't know how much margin of error that they're calling it out.
No, my call on that is, I think Arsene Wenger has made a very interesting proposal. So, the offside now is that whatever part of your body, so whatever part of your body which is behind the last defender, you're going to be offside, right? Arsene Wenger said the part of your body that should be counting is your feet. So he's saying, for example, we're right now on the same line, right? We're on the same line. I'm not supposed to be offside if we're attacking that way. He's saying that if, for example, now the body is offside, but your feet are behind, it's not supposed to be offside. And I think this is going to help a lot of decisions to be made, because it's more natural. Yeah. How can you be like in an offside position? Because your feet, at the end of the day, are the things that make you move more than your body, right? So I feel like this is and to come back on what you said. For example, the last controversial decision I've seen was the PK shutout between Madrid and
Atletico.
Yeah. Did he touch the ball twice?
So initially, Lars, I think everyone was the same. But I did see one video. Like there was one, again, they slowed it so to the level where it showed a little bit it looked like it from that angle, but all the other ones that they showed, it like nowhere close, right? So, but also, again, I think, again, I just don't know where they draw the line when they call it like conclusive or inconclusive, you know what I mean? So that's where I think the problem is, right?
For example, World Cup 2022. Then now they started to talk
Messi,
about
right?
Messi.
Yeah.
Messi. Nobody said anything about it. So Messi. did they? Because what happened between Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid, apparently it's because Mbappe came and called it out to the referee. He was the first one to call it. Did they started to review it because Mbappe called it out, or like
there's no clear cut.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. This is why I'm like, the people who are using this, VAR must actually, because when you play the game, I could see, for example, me sitting on my couch, I could guess that it was a double touch. Why? Because his balance foot was right in front of the ball. So there's no way he didn't touch that ball with his other foot. But that was me sitting on my couch. I didn't have all the replays and the computers and all that. So I can only imagine that the people who were over there, if they knew a little bit better, they would have made another decision right away.
Yeah, they had this. The Champions League uses this almost like an AI model now. I'm pretty sure you've seen this. So it just uses the animation of the players running. So obviously you have these sensors. I've actually looked into this a little bit more. So you have these sensors that are picking up like the player's position, speed, and all that stuff. The only problem that I have when I was telling you about the margins of the game, right? Like, let's say if it's a big upside, it's simple. It's you can justify it. But there is going to be issues with like the delays and the frame speed of the cameras and the projection. So I don't know how the margins of the game is kind of managed, right? I think if it is managed, I just definitely need to be educated on that because I have like no idea how that works.
But I also feel like VAR is what, 3 years old now?
They're 3-4, yeah.
4 years old. You need more cameras. If you want to really relay on that, you need more cameras. Some stadiums, like if you have to, when you go to the Parc des Princes, for example, or Santiago Bernabeu, which is like now the most beautiful stadium probably, the cameras are everywhere. They have cameras where they can capture all these frames and all these things. But when you go to Grenoble, or Brest, who was playing the Champions League, it's a very tiny stadium. They don't have this capacity. They don't have those abilities to put cameras everywhere. So obviously, the margin to error is going to be bigger.
Sure. Yeah. No, I understand. So no, it's something definitely. But my thought is hopefully these small little things, right, that come about and they work on that and they improve it. So the next time it happens, we don't have controversies. Now, going back to another question that I had actually wanted to ask you is, as opposed to as when you were playing with PSG at the time, now we have a lot of money that has flown into the game, right? And in your view, has that sort of, changed the way how the game is played now?
Oh, yes, because, and I think Karim Benzema said it very well, and it's changed the way we play, and it's also changed the way we watch it. When I was younger, there was obviously no smartphone, no nothing. So you sit in front of the game, you watch the game from the first to the 95th minute. No distraction, no sending text messages, no checking Instagram, Facebook, or whatever. You just there's no phone anyway. Right. So you're just watching the game and focused on what's happening on TV. Now, with all these things, you get distracted. You barely watch the game. Yeah, the TV is there. You're on your phone at the same time, and you hear, that happened. Boom. It's a different way to watch it. Now it's also a different way to play it, because there's so much more pressure, and because there's so much more pressure, we tend to congratulate or to put forward the player who made the most stats. And for me, it was not about stats. It's more about whatever a player is able to bring on the table, to bring to the table. For example, I see that, okay, this player today is better than this player yesterday because he's got more assists, more goals, and more. But are we talking about the dribble? For example, Eden Hazard said, everybody's talking about stats and everything, but like my best game ever was the game I played against Brazil in the World Cup 2020. Was it 22?
Okay.
Or 18, maybe. He said that was my best game ever. He said, why? Because I was taking the ball, I was dribbling, I was having fun. Nobody could take the ball off of me. But I didn't score, I didn't make an assist, and we lose the game. We lost the game. So he said, because I didn't score assist and we lost the game, people say that, that game doesn't count. That was my best game. And we don't look at the game the same way now because there's so much money involved and people are betting money.
That's another angle, yeah.
They are betting money and they want you to win over everything. You just watch it a different way. When I was watching the games, it was to watch, okay, who's gonna have the best skills. And this is when a player like Luis Figo was coming out and you couldn't take the ball off of him. Robinho, just a little bit low. Ronaldinho, a bit earlier. Ronaldo, like all these players, these are the players who made our generation fall in love with the game. When you compare to it now, players don't even want to take on like defenders 1v1. They receive the ball 1v1, they pass the ball back. You're like, what are we watching? But why? Because, you lose the ball there, boom, counterattack, goal. They're going to be, you lost the ball there.
Yeah. Currently, based on the profile of like the team chemistry and how you've seen the game transform now, currently as of now, can you tell me in your eyes the best national team? That I know this is a very tough. Maybe give me like top three, I suppose.
National team, you said?
National team and the best three club teams in the world right now.
National team. I'd say Argentina. Argentina is probably the best national team right now.
And they just beat Brazil 4-1.
4-1.
Right?
And not because they just beat, but like you said, like the play style, the chemistry, everything is just, and when you add Messi on top of that, you can only... close second, though, I would put Spain. Spain is playing in a way that's just very enjoyable to watch as well.
I think Lamine Yamal, obviously, he is leading the line, but you have, what's Nico Williams?
Yeah.
And Chelsea are talking to buy him. Please buy him.
They're buying everyone.
They'll buy you and me. They'll buy by the time this podcast is over, they'll have both you and I in the squad.
But it looks like every player that's going to Chelsea is like kind of
with Chelsea
wobbling.
Okay, Larry, my thing with Chelsea is, don't you know the sport that goalkeeper and striker are like the most two important parts of the game? Because Chelsea obviously has decent striking options and decent goalkeepers, but I think that's our Achilles heel right now. And again, the other thing is like also the strikers, right, in the game right now. Is it because of the game has transformed that you think that you don't have as good of a like number nines as they used to? What's your thought?
The game has evolved in a way that doesn't help strikers to really be fed. For example, who in today's game would you say, okay, this striker is wow? I'd say, okay, Lewandowski, but it's another era. Harry Kane, it's another one too.
Maybe Isak. I think Isak is doing well.
Isak is doing well. Haaland, he's kind of he's had this. I think he's probably for me, Haaland is the best number 9. But when you look at the way, now players don't want to play at this position. It's too crowded. This position, like as a number 9, teams are so well organized, there's no space for them to express themselves. It's not like back then when, the Trezeguet were playing or the people Inzaghi were playing, Ronaldo.
Or Miroslav Klose, right? They
were like was, you still had space. Now, teams just want to close the middle, the center of the pitch. They let you drive the ball on the side and then you can operate from there. But like from the center of the pitch, it's tough. And this is why a player like Mbappe, for example, doesn't want to play there. It's too crowded. There's no space to express yourself.
And also, like, see, the game with, and you mentioned a couple of names like Harry Kane, right? And you mentioned Karim Benzema earlier. If you look at their games also, they are not your typical like number 9, right? Because I'm imagining every single time I imagine Harry Kane, I imagine him like coming almost to the center and picking up the ball and distributing from there and moving up towards the goal, right?
True.
So Benzema was the same exact thing, right? So,
drafting away and still able to score goals. It's a different, like this number 9 position is kind of in nowadays football. it's too difficult. It's way too difficult. You have to compete against like Goldoraks, big center backs,
Yeah.
and you also have like the midfielders who are kind of like shrinking the space in the area for you to express yourself. So it's very, very difficult to play in that position.
Yeah.
That's why I give so much respect to a player like Haaland, because he's still able to score goals. He doesn't want to go and dribble and take on defenders 1v1, which is okay. That's not my style of players. I love players who take the ball one-on-one and can do eliminate, like, Vini,
Right.
Lamine, Yamal, and all that.
Yeah.
But you have to give him his flowers because he's able to score goals. And at the end of the day, this is what you want your number 9 to do.
Yeah.
I mentioned people in Zaghi. I mentioned David Trezeguet was non-existent on the building phase, but in and around the box. Good luck.
Good luck. I will keep on distracting you because I took you away from the original question. So you have Argentina, Spain. What's the third country that you think is probably like the national team? That is probably Germany. I don't know.
No, Germany.
Not
I don't
Germany.
put Germany. I've watched their last performance, very, very strong one. Although I was surprised to see them struggling towards the end against Italy. I want to say France, but you say based on like the chemistry and everything, that's not it right now.
But France, like always, if you look at almost every single tournament, like the big tournaments, right? They're doing okay, like you made it to like.
Yeah, but for example, like the last Euro, I was very disappointed.
Yeah. I mean,
I was very disappointed. France is. I remember 2002. And before the World Cup started, so we won World Cup 98, Euro 2000, and then World Cup 2002. And we have Djibril Cissé, who was the top scorer of the French league, Thierry Henry, top scorer of England, David Trezeguet, top scorer of Italy, and there was another one who was the top scorer of Spain. But whatever, like we had the top scorers of every league, top 5 leagues. We couldn't make it out the first round. Zidane was there too.
Yeah.
Couldn't make it out. So sometimes when you're too confident, it doesn't work. But the way we play, like the way France is playing right now, it's kind of worrying to me. It's kind of worrying because I feel like they can do so much better. I don't know why it's happening like that. But even in 2022, like it's been interesting to watch because I didn't feel like they were great, but they were still able to do whatever what was needed.
Colomani was one shot away from giving France another World Cup. So it's for that. Martinez is safe. Okay, let's come to the clubs.
Yeah, clubs.
The top 3. Give me like the top 3.
Honestly, that's interesting because before. Last month, I would have told you Liverpool, the best team this year. I don't know what happened.
Sorry, Liverpool fans, but I'm enjoying this conversation here.
I don't know what happened to them, but I don't recognize them anymore.
Look, let me tell you one thing. PSG, one of the main reasons that I'm putting on this jersey is obviously because of you today. But the second reason is I think they look sublime this season. Like the game, when you go away to Anfield and Liverpool did pretty good to take it to extra time and to penalties, and that game should have been over, I think, the regular 90 minutes, right? But PSG looked phenomenal. They played very, very well. Yeah. So anyways.
Yeah, no, so as I told you,
Liverpool.
I would have told you before a month ago, I would have told you Liverpool. Mm-hmm. But I have to give it to PSG. And that's not bias. I feel like, this year, they are so strong. And trust me, it's coming from somebody who's been living the worst moment in Champions League. Like for the last 10 plus years, we always thought it was about to be it for us. And some happened.
Do you think
losing to Man United, losing to Dortmund, like out of nowhere. So now I'm enjoying watching. Like I'm really enjoying. Actually, before that era, I felt like the best era for us was when Laurent Blanc was the coach. Since then I've never find like PSG so attractive to watch playing until
Yeah.
now.
No, and you had this winger. I'm gonna butcher his last name, but he's from Georgia originally.
Oh yeah, I don't.
It's a long name.
Yeah, it's a long name.
But he like I was looking.
yeah.
I was looking at his play, and I'm like, who is this player? Because I'm pretty sure a lot of clubs are again PSG is probably not going to sell
Napoli,
him. Yeah,
so.
it was in Napoli. It went to PSG,
Yeah,
right?
PSG.
So okay, so yeah, PSG, maybe Liverpool, right?
Maybe Liverpool. And there's Barcelona. Barcelona.
They're coming back.
Yeah, Barcelona. They started very well. They had some like low moments, and the way they played was just taking everybody off guard. This high line was just killing everybody. But yeah, Barcelona, and I would say honestly, I think that Madrid towards the end is going to be the strongest team once again.
Everyone plays the Champions League, and Real Madrid just wins the league at the end of the season, right? Why even play the game? Just give it to them.
There's another one though.
Okay.
Bayern Munich.
Okay.
I think so I'd say PSG, Barcelona, and Bayern Munich.
Do you think Harry Kane's finally going to win something?
No.
All right, yeah, man. At least he made the move, and let's see. And that season, yeah, by Leverkusen, right? They played. I mean, one of the best seasons that any.
That was
crazy,
crazy. This is when you're cursed.
So maybe.
Hopefully, he can turn it around. But.
Yeah, we'll see. He has a chance this year. So
yeah.
Okay, we're coming towards the end of this. Bears, and I appreciate the conversation, So what are your future aspirations? Like what's next in your chapter? Like you played the professional game for 19 years, so you understand the systems, these systems in each of these countries so well. You've been here a little while now. What's in your next chapter? Are you coaching? Are you punditry? What exactly you're looking to do now?
I've heard a lot this coaching thing. I don't think I want to be coaching. I have other aspirations. One of them is really to help families and aspiring, professional players to help them understand what it takes to make it to the next level. Because, as we say, we discussed a little bit earlier. We only see, the lights and the trophies and all that, but this is just the top of the iceberg. There's a lot going on in order to make it happen. We talked about the sacrifices. We talked about the mental approach of it, and I think this is something that young players need to understand, but also families, parents, and I want to help parents to understand how they can better help their kids to help them getting to that level. Because, for example, I'm a father myself, and my boys, I have 3 kids. My daughter's 15, but my boys, my last 2 kids are my boys. They're not into soccer, into football. They don't want to play. I tried. It's not for them, and it's fine. I don't want to force them, right? I want them to be happy before everything. But what I want to say is that Desi played at a recreational level. And when I was going to their games, I was seeing some behaviors from parents, for example, that was difficult, especially for me knowing, how to approach it the right way. And some parents just do it the wrong way. I would see parents like yelling on the sideline, over like behaving, over like giving instructions would be completely different from what the coach was asking. Or even at the end of the game, parents like right away, right after the game. So as soon as the child is walking off the field, like, why did you do that? What? Like, I want them to understand, what it takes or how they can better help their kids to feel comfortable, to enjoy this, because at the end of the day, this is their journey. This is not the parents' journey. Yes, you want them, you have aspirations, probably dreams, and you want them to compete and succeed. But at the end of the day, this is their journey. And they are supposed to be the ones who enjoy it, because guess what? If they don't, they might quit altogether at some point, and sooner than later. So my aspiration is to help the families understand what it takes to make it, and also give informations and insights to facilitate this journey.
So how are you going about that? Is there like an organization that you've started, or is it like
So-
a what would you call it?
So I started writing a book.
Okay.
I just wrote a book that I launched actually 25 days ago.
Wow, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. So yeah, it was
Congratulations. Yeah.
it was so I made a whole like book release party and all that, and people came, showed love, and I started to receive testimonials and feedbacks about it, and apparently it's really helpful. And also, this was just an introductory book.
Okay.
I have way more, because we didn't talk about it, but I used to journal a lot. I've been writing a lot during like the last 7-8 years of my career, and I have a lot in the tank. So I'm aiming of dropping a tetralogy. So 4 volumes talking about everything about the game. So the parents, coaches, players, and the pay-to-play system as well. So
Okay.
this is something I'm working on right now. And so the book was the first part. Now I'm working on, creating kind of something where I can better assist them. Something where I can better assist. I'm still looking for the best option to make it happen. But I'm definitely working towards that.
Okay. Well, first of all, congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
And I think coming from someone who has played the game for 19 years with all that experience, I think it will help people understand how the game is and how it should be played. And because you've seen the football system in different countries, and I think that adds a lot of perspective, right? Because you come from the system in France, like from PSG, and played in the Africa Cup Nations, so I think that just adds a lot of value. Now, can you tell people how can we find this book?
Yeah, so this book is actually only available on my website. So larisrecommends.com. This is the only place where you can find this book at the moment. I decided to do that because I really wanted to live the experience of doing everything. I actually did everything myself. I wrote it myself. I'm self-publishing the book, and I'm shipping the books myself, to packing and shipping everything myself, because I want to create some kind of a community where I can be closer to the people, versus I could be also going through the more conventional way, Amazon and all that, but you don't create that that space with the people. And I want to be closer to them to get their feedbacks directly, and create this community. I was saying that, where I can receive those feedbacks, and even sharper and craft and refine my approach to it.
No, that's great. That's a great way to go about it. And we'll put up the links and everything. And I'd love to go on there and just get one for myself. I'd love to read more on that. There's how else can people reach out to you? I think I heard like you might be starting like a YouTube channel somewhere in the background. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, I'm actually starting to record some episodes for my own YouTube channel.
Okay.
Where we're going to be talking about same thing. This is another way I want to create this environment where I can help families. So I'm going to drop a lot of insights and informations and all these things to help parents and families and young players and even soccer enthusiasts to understand what it really takes to make it.
Okay. And people can find you on Instagram. What's your handle?
Handle is, my name is Laris. Actually, all my handles everywhere: YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. What else? Yeah, all my handles are my name. My name is Laris,
and there's a S at the end. So, and I'll put everything on there so you have all the avenues to reach out to Laris. But Larry's again. I appreciate so much of your time here. And it's just a great conversation. I totally enjoyed it, and I am donning this PSG jersey. I'll be very very happy if PSG won it. Because until Chelsea gets back, the Champions League, that could be decades. I don't know, but
It's not happening next year.
all right. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Lars.
Thank you once again.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.